Hello Middle 3 students. Today we will take the Grammar Unit 2, page 15, Past Tense Contrast. So we are going to compare between all the past tenses. The past simple tense, past continuous tense, and past perfect tense. Now we start with the past simple tense. We all know the past simple tense, but we will take a quick revision just to remember it. We use it for completed actions that happened at a definite point in the past. So when the action happened in the past and it's finished or completed in the past, we use the past simple tense. So, for example, you can say, I visited Paris last year. It means that you did the action in the past, it started in the past, and it is also finished and completed in the past because it happened last year. So, we use it for completed actions that happened at a definite point in the past. Number 2, for actions that happened one after another in the past. So, for example, you can say, I got up, I washed my hands, I ate breakfast last morning. So, these are actions that happened one after another, but all of them happened in the past tense. So they are sequence of actions, one follow the other one in the past. How can we form the past simple tense? We know that we have two types or two kinds of verbs. We have regular verbs and irregular verbs. The regular verbs, you know that number 1, after verbs end in E, we add only the D. Like verb move, it ends with E. So in the past, we add D, moved. Close, closed. What about the verbs like, for example, verb play? Play doesn't end with E. So that's why I add ed. So play, played ends with ed. Verbs ending in y, after a consonant, we change the y to ied. So verb cry, cried. Study, studied. We change the y into ied in the past form. After verbs ending in a vowel plus a consonant, we double the consonant. So verb plan, we double the N, planned. Regret, regretted, we double the T. As I said, all other verbs we add ed, like play, played, avoid, avoided, and so on. Now, these are the types of the regular verbs. Now, what about the irregular verbs? You have to look at your student book page 124 and you have to study the second column, which is the past form of the verb. So, in the irregular verbs, you have 3 types. The first type, for example, sell, sold, sold. So sold, sold here, it's only one change of the verb. Sell, sold, sold. There is only one change to the verb. And another type is 2 changes. For example, you can say drink, drank, drunk. So drink, drank, drunk. You have here 2 changes for the verb drink. And these 2 changes are drank and drunk. Then you have the third type of the irregular verbs, and these are the verbs that do not change, like cut, 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 or hit, hit, hit. Okay? So never mind now about the third type, but you will have to study it because we will use it later. But now I only want you to study the second column for the verbs, which is the past form. Now, in the affirmative, we say they finished the job. So we put finish plus ed because this verb is an irregular verb. In another sentence, I can say they bought a car. Bought is the past of buy. And here it's an irregular verb. How can we form the negative? To form the negative, we have to use did plus not, and we put the verb into the infinitive form. So they didn't finish, or they did not finish the job. If I say I bought a car, so that will be I didn't buy the car. I put did not and I put the verb in the infinitive. How can we form the questions? Of course, again, we have to use did, and we put the verb into in the infinitive. So for WH question, I say what did they finish? And if I wanted to form yes no question, I would say did they finish? Okay. Now what about verb to be in the past simple? In the affirmative, I put was or were. Of course, it depends on the subject. So with I put was. I was nice. He, she, it, I put was. So he, she, it was nice. With they, we, you, we put were. They, we, you were nice. The negative is very easy. We use verb to be, was or were, plus not. So I wasn't nice. He wasn't nice. They weren't nice. Questions? Again, I have to use verb to be in the past, was or were. So for WH questions, why was I happy? Why was he happy? Or why were they happy? For yes no questions, was I happy? Was he happy? Were they happy? What are the guiding words for the past simple tense? Let's remember them together. Last, any word like last week, last month, last year. Ago, we put it at the end of the sentence. 3 years ago, 2 months ago. Yesterday, we can put it at the beginning or at the end of the sentence. He played football yesterday, or yesterday he played football. In the past, again, you can put it at the end or at the beginning of the sentence. And once or once upon a time. Also, you can use previously. Okay, so this is the past simple tense. Let's move to the past continuous tense. We use the past continuous tense to do what? To describe a longer action that was interrupted by shorter action in the past. So I have a long action and this long action will be interrupted by another short action in the past tense. So for example, I say, while I was reading the book. I was reading the book. It's a long action. It takes a long time. My father arrived. So my father arrived. It's a shorter action that interrupted the long one. So I was reading and then I was interrupted, or I was stopped because my father arrived. So it's a long action that was interrupted by a short action in the past. Number 2, we use it to describe an action lasting for some time in the past. So I can say the kids were playing all day in the morning. So again, it's a long action that took some time in the past. Number 3, to describe a scene. So for example, I can say the birds were singing on the tree. So this is a scene that I am describing. How can we form the past continuous tense? We put was or were plus verb plus ing. So for example, the kids were playing football. While she was eating, the telephone rang. And again, this is a long action. She was eating and it was interrupted by a short action. The telephone rang. She was playing when her father came. Again, so it's a long action that was interrupted by a short action. What are the guiding words of the past continuous tense? While, as, just as, and when. So while is the same as, just as, and as. So while or as or just as. After them I put past continuous because it will be the long action, and then in the other sentence I put past simple because it's the short action that will interrupt this long action. With when is the opposite. I do the opposite. I put past simple after when because it's the short action, and in the other sentence I put past continuous because it's the long action. Okay. Now let's take a look at the examples. I was watching TV when she called. Remember, after when you put past simple. So when she called, I was watching TV. You can always switch the sentences. So after when I put past simple, in the other sentence I put past continuous. Another example. When the telephone rang, she was writing a letter. So again, when at the beginning, but after it I put past simple. In the other sentence I put past continuous tense. And of course, writing is the longer action, and then it was interrupted by a shorter action because the phone rang. Okay. While John was sleeping last night, someone stole his car. Remember, after while I put past continuous, and of course sleeping is a long action. So while John was sleeping, what happened? Someone stole his car. In the other sentence I put past simple tense. And the same of while is just as or as. I was writing the email, the computer suddenly went off. Can I put while in the beginning of the sentence? Yes. I can say someone stole his car, or someone stole John's car while he was sleeping. So we keep the order as it is, although you switch the sentences. Now we have an exception. What happens if we have two long actions? So if we have two long actions, we have to use the past continuous tense in both sentences. For example, I was studying while he was making dinner. So these are two long actions. Making dinner is a long action and studying is a long action. That's why I put in both sentences the past continuous tense. And here I don't have another action or another short action that interrupted these actions. So they are only two long actions. Another example, while Ellen was reading, Tim was watching television. So again, reading is a long action, watching television is a long action. That's why I put in both of them past continuous tense. How can we form the negative? We put was or were plus not. So they weren't listening to music, or she wasn't listening to music. Questions? Again, I have to use was or were plus verb plus ing. So yes, no questions. Were they listening to music? Or was she listening to music? If I want to form WH question, what were they listening to? Or what was she listening to? As you see here, we used was or were as helping verbs. Now, verbs we don't use the past continuous with. You understand that there are certain verbs that we call the stative verbs, the verbs that we have talked about. Now, these verbs, we cannot use them in any continuous tenses, either present or past continuous, or even present perfect continuous or past perfect continuous tense, any continuous tenses. Alright, what are these verbs? Believe, hate, like, love, want, need, know. Alright. For example, she was being at my house when you arrived. Of course, it's not correct. You cannot say she was being. Verb to be, I cannot put it in the continuous tense like this. But it's correct to use it in the past simple. So, Jane was at home or at my house when you arrived. Now, this sentence is correct.